Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Kubeir. I was asked actually to slow down the speed that I speak with because a lot of you have been complaining that I speak too fast. So this time I'm going to try and speak a bit slowly. But you see, I mean, Canadian immigration gets me excited for so many reasons. One, it's a constant roller coaster ride, always ups and always downs and always ups, and it's never a straight cruise, right? Today's video, today's live stream has to do a lot with the excitement that is palpable, right? That the draws have started, and that the draws are happening with I don't want to jinx it, but is happening with a regular consistency. Uh, People are still considered worried about the francophone draws. Of course, in my opinion, francophone draws will continue. I don't know. I mean, I don't have any indication of when and how frequently, what will be the draw sizes, what will be the ITAs. I don't know about that, but for sure, these draws would continue. Hey, we hit the 100K mark in YouTube. Yay! Thank you so much thank you everyone. Thanks to everyone out there who have been part of this journey on YouTube with us for 100,000, and of course on our Instagram as well for 100,000. Now it's only Twitter that we are waiting for to hit that 100,000 mark on Twitter as well. But it's been quite a journey. So thank you everyone out there for being part of this wonderful community. For people who do not know, on the 23rd of February, which is next Sunday, I would assume. Is that next Sunday? Yes, of course. Next Sunday, 23rd of February, we are holding our 100,000 celebration seminar as a give back to our wonderful community. If you haven't registered, then you should register. The links for registration are there on our Facebook pages. They are there on our Twitter pages. They are there on our Instagram pages. They are also there on the YouTube community post. So we already have a lot of people who have registered. I think we will be closing the registration sometimes today itself because it's an overwhelming response. We have registrations of more than 400 people as of right now. I don't think we can accommodate that many people, but I also know a lot of you will drop out. So we keep that little bit of margin there. But if you haven't registered, then obviously that's going to be one opportunity missed, because we're going to do this live. We're going to talk to you live. We're going to answer your questions live in person. And hey, you save on that consultation fee that you would otherwise have to pay me, right? So there you go. So that's an opportunity for you. So that's our little thank you for being part of our community, part of this wonderful journey that we've had so far. Today's video, always interesting when we talk about refusals, rejections, and at the same time of the consistent ITAs. So today's title of the video is 4,000 ITAs, but 40,000 rejections. What do I mean by that? And I know before you start telling me it's clickbait, it's not clickbait. I don't do clickbaits. I mean, you might think some of them as clickbaits because that's the way your perception works, but it's not clickbait. 4,000 ITAs, what I'm referring to is the consistent draws that are happening there. And surprisingly, based on the recent ATIP notes that was obtained by the one and only ATIP king, Stephen Murrens, the Canadian immigration lawyers, who has mastered the art of getting out those nuggets of information from IRCC archives, which we otherwise would never get to see. So this one also has been obtained by my friend Stephen Murrens. I'm just going to pull that up on the screen, and this tells you that from 31st of January 2015 until very recently, what was this date? This was until last somewhere in I don't have, oh yeah, of course, until July 2024, there have been 40,000 rejections under the R10 stage. Now, for people who don't understand what is the R10 stage, R10 stage is the completion stage. Completion as in R stands for Immigration Refugee Protection Regulation. Sorry, 10 stands for the Section 10 of the law, where it says it's your responsibility to provide to IRCC a complete application, completely filled out forms, complete documentation, all the documentation in the required formats, required or in the way that they should have been presented, right? And if you do not do that, then technically it's your problem, and they have no obligation to ask you for that document. Okay, so it's like, for example, you go to a window, right? If you were to go to a physical window to submit an application, they will go through the documents and say, okay, this is missing here. Take your bunch back, go and get us the documents again. So this is the virtual way of doing it. The only problem is that if you get this application rejected at R10, you are pretty much at the back of the queue again, as in you have to start again. You have to create your Express Entry profile again. You have to get your IT again, and you have to submit your application again. Now, this becomes a problem for those people who may have received an ITA like a once in a lifetime opportunity. You can ask those individuals who received their ITAs at 509, 507 scores when the scores had dropped down to that level, and then they made a mistake. And I still remember, and this is something which has been very, very, this has always left a big mark. 31st of May 2017, I'm going back in time, historical data. The lowest ever Express Entry draw, general draw, which was federal skilled worker draw, right? I'm not talking about the 75 CRS score. 31st of May, the lowest ever Express Entry general draw, including federal skilled workers, was at 413, 413. That was the draw. And obviously, people were ecstatic. People were excited to have received the invitations. And of course, lots of other people were expecting their scores would further drop to 410, 409, 405 kind of a thing. Never had happened before. So obviously, you can imagine the excitement, it was in the air. So many people submitted their applications. And as people they rely on these agents who basically are not consultants, the ghost agents, the ghost consultants who are everywhere, or some other individuals, or doing it themselves as well, which is absolutely fine. The problem was, I know of at least 2 individuals who submitted their applications. One was from Pakistan, one was from India. They both made a similar mistake. First one uploaded a passport copy instead of a police certificate. So they did not upload a police certificate at all, because when you're uploading the documentation, sometimes you name the file numbers pretty similar, same, or sometimes you don't name the file numbers at all. They're just numbers. And so instead of uploading a police clearance, this person uploaded a passport copy. So there you go. In the second instance, which was, I think, the Indian gentleman, they uploaded a marriage certificate, which was from the church, right? So obviously, depending on which faith you follow, which religion you follow, you would have marriage certificates that are given to you from those institutions, the religious institutions. In Muslims, it could be from the masjid. In Hindus, it could be from the temple. For Sikhs, it could be from the gurdwaras. For Christians, it could be from the churches. And so this gentleman got his marriage certificate from the church, and that was the marriage certificate this person uploaded. In both the cases, these applications was rejected in R10. I'm just giving you one example and how that can impact so severely. So once these applications were rejected, the problem was that they never ever received an invitation again. Why? Because that was the lowest ever score that we saw in Express Entry, 413. It never ever went down to that number or lower than that. And those 2 individuals lost out on that opportunity, never to ever come back again. So you can imagine how serious R10 rejections can be. Well, a lot of you will say, well, my score is high enough, I don't have to worry. To those individuals, I will say IRCC has been the most unpredictable or inconsistent entity out there. The draws are happening today, the draws can stop tomorrow. And once the draws will stop, then again, you are back to square one with the scores going up. I mean, don't the CECs know that? The Canadian Experience class, September 14th, 2021, was it? Or 2022? I forget the years, I'm mixing up. That was the last Canadian Experience class draw at low scores, right? Everybody was expecting the scores will continue to drop. So imagine if you're a Canadian Experience class, you had a draw and you got that ITA and it was rejected. And then Canadian Experience class draws never went back to that low scores. What are you going to do? So therefore, please always know that while these 4,000, and I see this on a daily basis, trust me, I do thousands of consultations every year, thousands, and I'm not exaggerating at all. Anybody who wants to see, I can always show you my address, my calendar book. But the point is, I deal with these on a daily basis. Individuals, I mean, you can come back to our Facebook group, the community that we have, which is like hundreds of thousands of people in the community there. Every day, you will see somebody posting that they got rejected at the R10 And they get upset with IRCC as to why is IRCC not sending us a document request. Well, they are not supposed to. They don't have to. They're not obligated. It is your responsibility. So therefore, I have always said that never ever be in a rush to submit your application. Don't be that, oh, my deadline is 1 month later, but I want to submit it today. Why? Because it will get processed faster. And in that rush, sometimes you get complacent. And also, if it's your own application, if it's your own documentation, you're too close. When I'm saying too close, I mean it figuratively. You're too close to your application. Sometimes you keep seeing the things that your mind wants you to see, and you miss some very important factors. Always have somebody else review it for you, a third party. Take up second pair of eyes services from companies like us or anybody else for that matter. Have somebody else go through your documentation with an absolute neutral eye, neutral perspective. They might be able to see some minor mistakes, which might be minor for you or minor in principle, but actually which can result in some very big decisions from IRCC. So therefore, this is a huge factor. Now, again, 4,000 ITAs are coming through. It is also extremely important, and I will tell you this why. And I know a lot of people will not like what I'm saying, but hear me out. LMIA points are going to go away soon. You know it, I know it, we have all been talking about it, we've all been rejoicing about it. I mean, some of you can't wait for those points to be removed. I mean, that day can't come sooner, right? We're all anxiously waiting for that. But in the meantime, people who have the advantage, whether you have the LMIA, whether you are LMIA exempt, and this is more in terms of the LMIA exempt. Now, IRCC, as of today, has not clarified that these LMIA points will be only for the LMIA, these arranged employment points, 50 or 200. Is it only for the LMIAs or is it also for the LMIA exempt? That clarity has not been received. The only thing is that the IRCC website said that the job offer points will no longer be valid, right? The job offer. Now, the job offer is with LMIAs as well as LMIA exempt, as you all know. Recent video came up where Mark Miller was interviewed. I'm not sure if you have seen it. I can always show that to you, where he said that he will be, that he doesn't need to go to the parliament to remove these points. And I'm just trying to see if I can find that video quickly for you so I can show that to you as well. Yeah, I found it. Hold on. Let me see if I can show this to you. Remove this. Present my screen. Sorry, guys, just quickly showing you this one. I'm not sure if I can add this video in terms of. So this was the video where let's see if I can.
Don't need to go to Parliament to
no, it doesn't read up.
For the MIA. That's coming.
Interesting. Where's the volume?
Because I have significant discretion.
Boy,
go to
technology sometimes just doesn't help me. Anyways, if you head over to my Twitter account, you will be able to see this video where Mark Miller said that he doesn't need to go to the parliament to remove these points. But he mentioned in that interview that he doesn't need to go to parliament to remove the 50 points. What that did is that because he said it in this manner, a lot of people are now saying, okay, he said he doesn't need to go to parliament to remove 50 points, which basically means 200 points will still be valid, which also means that the LMIA exempt points will still be valid. But guys, this is figuratively speaking. For example, if I tell you, go get me a Xerox, I don't mean that, get me the Xerox branded photocopy machine. I mean that get me a photocopy.
People think
and
decisions that I take do not need me to go to Parliament.
He says the video is still playing. We can hear. We can still listen to Mark video. That's interesting. I mean, I can't hear him, but you can. Interesting. Anyways, if you could hear Miller playing in the background. Okay, I think I've just removed Miller from. There you go. That should remove him completely. I hope that caused. Okay, fair enough, guys. Thank you so much for letting me know. So the point is, what Mark Miller was doing over there in that particular video was he was speaking figuratively, as in saying that the points will be removed. By no means should we accept it that it is only going to be 50 points. As of right now, we will have to assume that this is going to be for all. Assume. When I'm saying assume, and I'm quoting that again over my head, is because clarity is not there. And we don't know whether this would be for all job offers, whether it will be with the LMIAs only, whether it will be for LMIA exempt job offers as well, whether it will be only for 50 points, whether it will be for 200 points. We don't know that yet. And because we don't know, we will have to just assume that it will apply to all job offers. And therefore, this R10 stage becomes even more crucial for you guys. If you are claiming 50 points, if you're claiming 200 points, if you're claiming LMIA exempt points, arranged employment points, you guys need to be extra careful. Why? Because you have received your ITA, because you're sitting pretty at this high scores of 521s and above. And God forbid you make a mistake in your application and your application gets rejected, bang. You would now be on the other side of things where the points have been removed. You no longer have those points, and therefore you would have lost this opportunity pretty much forever. I mean, I don't see these things making a comeback anytime soon. So therefore, and the reason I'm stressing on this so much is because, trust me, sometimes I get teary-eyed when I talk to these individuals who have lost this opportunity. So please do not be that one person who this happens to. Do not be one of those 40,000 people. Because if I show you that, oh my God, again, it's lost. If I show you that screen again, where did it go? Yeah, okay. If I show you the screen again, now this screen has data for a few other things as well. This is express entry applications received to date. From 2015 until now, they have received 629,000 applications. That's a huge number, number one. Number two, it says they have sent request letters, ADR, additional document requests, 161,000 applications. That's a lot of additional document requests. And after that, they have rejected applications, which are 40,000. Again, imagine 40,000 people who did not make it or could not make it. So please do not be one of these numbers ever. I mean, I would hate that. I mean, I would hate for that to happen to anyone. Okay, very quick question to take. When exactly 50 points to be removed? Do we have a date? No, we don't have a date. And this is something else that we can always talk about. And this is about when Mark Miller said that these points will be taken away in spring. Now, spring starts from 20th of March and it runs until 20th of June. We have a long period of spring. Trust me, Canada has all the 4 seasons, and spring is the wettest of them all. But spring from March 20th until June 20th. 21st of June is the official summer start. So that's the period. It can happen at any point of time. Now, a lot of people then on Reddits and other places on some very, very toxic comments about Mark Miller doing it deliberately because he wants scammers to take advantage, because he wants to Well, first of all, removing these points was a big deal in the sense of, you're making a very big change in the whole process, in the whole system, which is good thing that he decided to make that announcement, or he decided to take that step so that he can root out and cover away the fraud. The problem is that this delay is, number one, uncertain. We do not know when exactly it will be put in place, number one. Number two, it is only because of how clunky and glitchy the GCMS system is. The GCMS system is the Global Case Management System. This is the foundation system on which express entry has been built, and it has its own glitches. And I can give you some historical data. In November of 2016, they made the changes. Actually, I have to go back even further. Late 2015, did you know that LMIA used to have 600 points first? Can you imagine 600 points for LMIAs? So, that was like a done deal. If you had an arranged employment, you had an LMIA, you were going in straight away. But at that point of time, express entry scores used to be 700s kind of a thing, right? It was a regular thing. 700 was a norm. Go back to the historical data of express entry and you will see the score. So 600 points were given to LMIAs. Somewhere towards the end of 2015, they realized that 600 points is too much. That's when they decided to make the change. November 2016 is when the change was made to reduce the LMIA points from 600 down to 50 or 200, right? Depending on your NOC code, whether it's tier code 0123 or if it is tier code 00, that is what gives you 200 points. Now, it took them nearly a year to make those changes into the system. November 2016 is when the changes came. updating the points from 600 down to 50 to 200. Again, the system was clunky at that point of time. Again, in October, November 2016, they decided that they should give points to siblings. So if you have siblings in Canada, you get 15 extra points, and you should get points for Francophone, 15 extra points if you have second language as French. That was decided in October, November of 2016, but by the time it was implemented, it was June of 2017. Took them 6 to 8 months. And again, when they did implement it, whole month of June, the system crashed. They couldn't conduct any more draws. And when they did conduct the next draw, the scores went up, never to come down again. And that was the same story I was telling you about, the lowest score of 413. That's when this happened. Most recent incident is when the knock changes happened. Knock from 2016, 4-digit knock code changed to 2021, 5-digit knock code. It took them nearly a year to bring that update into the system. And when it did come into effect, when they did implement this, the system went totally bonkers, and then again they had to stop the draws. More recently, they changed the postal codes. They included that if you are in Canada, you're working in Canada, you're living in Canada, you must include the Canadian postal code. Again, that also created a big issue. It took them quite a few months to implement it, and when it was implemented, again the system went glitchy. They had to stop the draws. They had to pause the draws to rectify these. So again, these LMIA points, the only issue is that they're taking time, is because they have to work on the back end to make sure that the point systems are updated. And as a lot of techies out there, you might think it's very easy. I'm not a techie, and I can't comment on that, but this is a very old system. They do have some very serious issues within it. And of course, it's corporates, right? The more time that they work on it, the more they get paid. So you can think the finances as well. So this is going to take a bit of time for them to make these amendments. And I can assure you, whenever, again, not me, history is the witness here, and it's all historical precedents. As and when these changes are implemented, expect the draws to pause, because they will not be able to conduct the draws. And when that happens, and as you can imagine, when that happens, the scores are going to go, the scores are going to go up again. Why? Because as you can imagine, if there's a pause in the draws, with the pause in the draws, more profiles get added and the scores go up. So expect that to happen as well. All right. You know what? We were supposed to be doing some we're supposed to doing our weekly roundup, and we have gone completely off track. So let's get on with our weekly roundup. First, topics of discussion: PNP draws. There was a BC PNP draw. I'm sure people who have already received the invitation know that the draw was there. This was on 28th of January, quite way back. We have something on PNP updates. Okay, BC PNP allocation has been reduced for 2025. It was about 8,000 last year. Now it is only at 4,000. And for a lot of people out there in BC PNP, you guys are waiting anxiously for the international postgraduate stream. Now, the international postgraduate stream is much awaited, because everybody who's done a master's degree in BC would now be eligible for this particular stream. It hasn't been announced yet. BC PNP hasn't indicated what the date would be. So this is much awaited. Of course, we will let you know as and when this comes into play. And of course, we'll talk more about it once that happens. This is the current state of candidate pools for Alberta Advantage Immigration Program. They did have a draw. Alberta did conduct a draw yesterday, 14th of February. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody out there. This draw, again, it was not being published on the Alberta website. This was conducted under the Alberta Opportunity Stream and under the Alberta Agriculture Stream. Again, as I said, the scores are not known. We got a few invitations for our clients, and that's the reason why we know that Alberta Opportunity Stream and Agriculture Stream did get invited. There is no published information from Alberta. They will publish it only after a month, and that's when we'll know. But at this point of time, there are significant number of people who are already in the pool. Approximately 44,610 individuals are currently in the pool already. New Brunswick has reopened their immigration programs effective the 5th of February. And basically all their streams are now open, except the New Brunswick Strategic Initiative, they are not accepting any expressions of interest. And also, please, before you do apply for your expressions or do create your expressions of interest, please do take a look. They have made lots of changes to their program. For example, student connection stream is no longer applicable. And there are some changes in some other there are some changes in the other streams as well. So please take a look at those as well. What else is there? St. Clair College has suspended 18 programs due to the international student gap. Ottawa's Algonquin College is cutting 37 academic programs starting in September. St. Lawrence College is cutting 40% of their programs next semester. Okay, so these, I just named few colleges, but that's the case. That's the situation with all the universities, all the colleges. The fact that they have reduced the number of international students, hey, and international students were cash cows. They were bringing in bucket loads of money in terms of the tuition fees because they are paying nearly 3 to 5 times more than a domestic student. And therefore, with these international students not coming through, therefore, it means that a lot of these colleges are facing cash crunch. On the contrary, I have come to know that recently all these colleges, universities in Ontario held a joint meeting with the provincial government, letting them know that some of them will be filing bankruptcy. Well, I don't think anybody is going to cry over that. And that they have requested the government funding for a lot of them. So I'm not sure how much of this would be funded eventually by the government. I'm sure public universities, the government will definitely fund. As far as the colleges are concerned, maybe some public colleges also might get some funding from the government. But the diploma mills, I guess their fate is now written on the wall. They're all going to go pretty quick. But in the meantime, lots of these programs are being cut by several of these colleges, which was to be expected anyways, right? IRCC processing times have been updated, and this one is ridiculous. This one is that the spousal sponsorship application for spouses living inside Canada now takes 28 ridiculous months to process. Can you imagine? It's like 2.5 years for an application. Are we still in the 21st century, or have we sort of gone back 100 years or something like that? I mean, think about it. 2.5 years for an application, online application to be processed. Nobody knows why this is happening. But part of the reason here is that, from this year onwards, the immigration levels plan, the quotas, the immigration targets have been reduced. And can you believe it? They have also been cut and reduced for these family class as well. Therefore, it is making an impact. But then, surprisingly, if that was the only reason, and then you would imagine, why is it that outside Canada processing is faster and inside Canada is less? Why? So outside, for example, if you do an outland spousal sponsorship application, the processing time is only 14 months. But if you do an inland spousal sponsorship application, it is taking double the time, 28 months. Therefore, pro tip, guys, if you are a person who is inside Canada, who wants to submit a spousal sponsorship application, but you're inside Canada, did you know you can still do an outland spousal sponsorship application? You will still be eligible for an open work permit after you have submitted your PR application. And not only that, if your application gets refused or rejected, then you also have a right to appeal at the IRB. Did you know that? Right? Strange, but that's all true. But that's what's happening as far as the processing times from IRCC is concerned. Pretty cool, that one, right? Mark Miller confirms no need for Parliament's approval to remove the LMIA points. I have just spoken to you about that. IRCC is making progress in reducing the immigration backlog. Do you know that for the first time in a very long time, their actual processing inventory has now reduced from 1 million down to 942,000. So yay, they managed to complete 50,000 applications sooner. At this point of time, there are 344,000 permanent resident applications in the backlog, of which family sponsorship backlogs are at 15% of the total numbers there. Big numbers there. And as you can imagine, this permanent resident applications are 344,000. That basically means if they were to clear their backlog, not take any more new applications, We are talking theoretically. Please do not freak out. We're talking technicality. We are talking just theory. So theoretically, if they were to just clear out the backlog and not take any more new PR applications, they would still be on target for 2025. I mean, let that sink in, right? How is IRCC addressing the backlogs? Well, I'm not sure, but they are also cutting their staff. They're laying off their staff. They are planned to remove 3,300 employees. IRCC is removing the staff over the next 3 years to align with the reduced targets. I'm not sure how they will align with the reduced targets when their processing times are going through the roof. Somebody needs to have a word with Mr. Miller to see, okay, what exactly is going on, because fair enough, reduce the staff because now you have to, you have a lower number of applications to process, but hey, the backlogs are going bonkers. So what about that? But Mr. Miller is the only one who can answer that question. And yeah, that's the immigration backlogs. I'm not sure most of you want to be looking at that. So that's basically it. Connect with us on our social media platforms. We are everywhere. And obviously, we are at 100,000, yay, on Instagram and YouTube. We're very close to getting that on Twitter as well. Facebook, our community is in hundreds of thousands. It's a huge community. Join the groups, join the Facebook group so that you can exchange information. You can look at other people's experiences. You can look at other people's stories, answer their questions, help them. Sometimes maybe you know the answers to their question, and sometimes they can answer your questions as well. It's a self-help community platform on the Facebook. Very easy to find. You just put Ask Kubeir on Facebook and we should pop up in many numbers. And oh yeah, we are there on, somebody saying TikTok. I don't like TikTok as a platform, but we are there on TikTok as well. So by all means, please follow us on TikTok if that's your platform of choice. Right. We spoke about so many things, but while we were talking about all these things, there was one more thing that I want to talk to you before I get on to the questions. We are at 11:18 mark. I have until 12. 5 minutes before 12, and I will talk to you about that. But I want to show you something before I go into the question section. Where is this? I have it here. Right. Now, I apologize for the screen quality or the print quality. Now, this is a recent R10 rejection given to a person who provided an Indian police clearance certificate. Now, did you know that PCCs is the biggest reason for rejections and refusals in express entry? Did you know that, right? Police clearance. And I think I have made the most number of videos on police clearance certificates, and yet people are confused, yet people do not understand. So once again, just for clarity, you must obtain a police clearance certificate from any country that you have resided for 6 months or more in a row within the last 10 years or since the age of 18, whichever is or later. And that is the requirement of police clearance. And you need to check IRCC's website for the exact police clearance requirements. For example, in some cases, there may be additional requirements. Australian PCC is a very good example. In the case of Australia, not only do you need to get the police certificate from the Australian police authorities, you also need to obtain driving record from Queensland and Victoria in Australia. Now, it's very important. If you don't get the driving record from Queensland and Victoria, and if you just get the police clearance from Australian police, then your application will be rejected. So, always pay attention to the IRCC website. The information is in there, and you cannot then tell IRCC, hey, you rejected my application, and then again, you're going to bear the brunt of the R10 rejection. So therefore, always please refer to the IRCC website with the exact requirement that you need for a police clearance. It's the first thing. Now, taking a case of this one, I have always told you guys that if you obtain a police clearance from a country which is not your country of residence, okay, I will repeat it again. If you obtain a police clearance for a country which is not your country of residence, then if you obtained the PCC when you were outside that country and you did not return back, that remains valid. Okay, you can always add a cover letter saying, I've never gone back. I obtained this PCC from outside that country. I did not go back. It should be considered as valid. If you need another one, let me know and I'll give you another one. If you go to that country even for a day, even for an hour, then basically that PCC is no longer valid, because even in that hour you could have committed a crime, and therefore that PCC doesn't cover it. A lot of people think that IRCC website says that if you have gone to the country, you must stay in the country again for 6 months in order to be eligible for PCC. That's not true, because what is required is that that country is no longer your country of residence. Therefore, even if it's your home country, and therefore your entire duration that you have lived in that country must be covered by the PCC. And this is a classic example, which is on your screen right now. I'm sorry, I don't have the bigger, because when the time I took a screenshot of this, I didn't have, I mean, it was not really completely blown up, but it will give you the information. It says the police certificate from India was issued prior to your last residence. Your police certificate was issued on the 17th of February 2022. Your last residence in that country was on the 9th of November 2022. So this person obtained the police clearance while that person was outside India, and then he went to India for a vacation, came back, but did not live in India for 6 months again, but came back. It was just a 1 month vacation, came back and used the same police clearance, because they thought they don't need a new police clearance because they haven't stayed in India again for 6 months. And bang, R10 refusal, R10 rejection came into place, because this police clearance does not cover the entire duration of your stay. This is what I've been telling you guys so many times in so many videos. It's been all over. I mean, you can look at different streams, but police clearances, please, this is one document which is extremely important, and I will repeat it one more time, just so that you understand. From a country of residence where you are currently residing, if you need a police clearance, for example, Canada, you don't need a police clearance upfront, so you don't have to provide one. But any other country other than Canada, if that is your country of residence where you're living in there, and that is what you mentioned in your application is a country of residence, the police clearance is valid for 6 months or as stated on that PCC. So the PCC will say this PCC is valid for 3 months. Then take that 3 months into account. And once the 3 months is expiring, and if you're submitting your application, it should be valid on the day you click on the submit button and you get your AOR, right? The PCC has to be valid on that day. If it expires after that, it doesn't matter. If you travel to that country after that, doesn't matter. But on that day you submit the PCC, it should be valid. So your country of residence, it should be valid for 6 months. It is valid for 6 months, or as indicated on the PCC. For any other country which is not your country of residence, if you have obtained that PCC while you were outside that country, it remains valid until your next visit to that country. And when you do visit that country again, that PCC is now invalid. You must obtain it again. Please know this. Please keep your applications safe. I know it's a hassle to get another PCC sometimes, but it's better to get that versus getting a rejection or 10. That's all I have for you in terms of what I wanted to talk to you. Now we are heading over to the questions. Plenty of questions. I'm going to go with so many of them here. Okay. Boy. Okay. Before I get on to the questions, and I know it's obvious and it's normal that I will not be able to answer all the questions. So I request you guys that all the questions that I haven't been able to answer, please, after this video is over, after this live stream is over, come back, mention it in the comment section, and I will come back during the course of today. I will come back and I will answer those questions on the comment section as well. So please. Spouse is a postgraduate work permit. And also, sorry, before I get into the question, any questions that is asking about what are the chances, about a specific score, about a specific knock code, about your chances for PNPs, about your chances for the draws, when will certain draws happen? I don't know. And therefore, I can't answer those questions. So I'm going to skip those questions anyways, right? So just so that you know. Spouse is postgraduate work permit. I'm on visitor record. Expiry is March. Planning to apply for VR extension till June. Can't break lease early. Spouse has work commitment, then return. Good plan. When to apply 30 days or few days before expiry. Well, the point is, if you wish to return back, then yes, at any point of time, you can return back. If you wish to apply for visitor record, you can apply for it at any point of time. But in this case, the recommendation is probably a week or 2 weeks before the expiry, so that you can get ample of time, one, on the implied status, and once they issue it, then, for the duration of the time. Sometimes IRCC has been very quick to issue the visitor record. And when they do issue the visitor record, it is only for a validity of a month, because they don't want to give you longer than that. And then you might be caught with a shorter duration and will have to apply for it again. Therefore, apply for it closer to the expiry date, 1 week, 2 weeks before the expiry, and request for the duration. Let them know the reason why you're requesting for the duration, and hopefully you will get it. I don't see anything wrong with the plan. Absolutely fine. But do remember, while you're on a visitor record, you can't work. Of course, you can reside in Canada, and when you're submitting an application for visitor record, always add financials that would help them establish that you can support yourself without having to resort to illegal work, right? So that's actually the most important document in a visitor record application, for you to be able to demonstrate that you're financially sound, that this is a financially viable activity for you. As long as you do that, you should absolutely be fine. No problem there. PNP International Graduate Stream is a good path. If I have studied electrician from PEI, or OINP is better, as I have done 2 years study there. Well, if you have studied in Ontario and if you have studied in Prince Edward Islands, I guess the most important factor will be where can you get a job offer from. Most of these streams, whether it's Ontario or PEI, the thing is with the job offer, you would need the employer support. In Ontario, it might be even more difficult. And the reason why it is more difficult is because the scoring factor is very high. Number one. Number two, the draws are inconsistent. You don't know when the draws will happen. And number three, finding an employer who is going to support your application, give you the employer form for the international student stream or employer job offer foreign worker stream, that is quite difficult. So wherever you can find the employer who can support your application, I guess that's the way to go. Jayant says, my CRS is 545 and your EE profile, my EE profile, no, your EE profile was created on the 10th of Feb. If the next CEC draw on 25th of Feb has a CRS score of 519 with a tie breaking of 10th of December, will you receive an ITA? Please explain the tie breaking rule for my case. Okay, all right. First of all, you're at 545, man. Come on. I mean, you shouldn't even be thinking or be worried about these things, right? 545, you've already hit a 6 out of the park, as they would call it. So let me explain the tie-breaking rule. Tie-breaking rule always applies only to those individuals who have a score on which the score has been drawn. What am I saying? The last draw was at 521, express entry draw, right? The tiebreaker applies only to those profiles whose score is 521. And only those profiles are impacted by that score. Anybody whose score is 522 and above, they get invited anyways. So those are not impacted. So in your case, in your example, your score is 545. You are not impacted by tiebreaker. The only individuals who will be impacted will be the ones whose score is 519. And only those will be included in the draw who have created their profile before 10th December 2025. 2025? We didn't have a 10th December. So you mean 10th December 2024. You're making the same mistake that IRCC made in the recent draw. So if a tiebreaker is of 10th December 2024, it basically means that if your score is 519 and if you created your profile before 10th of December 2024 at the time given, then you were included in the draw and you would get invited. Anybody who created their profile after the time indicated in the tiebreaker, 10th of December 2024, with a score of 519, only 519, they will not be included. But anybody who has a score of 520 and above, all of them will get included, all of them will get invited, no problem. So with a score of 545, my God, you already achieved nirvana. So don't worry about this. Applied for postgraduate work permit extension in November 19 on a maintained status, received ITA, applied for bridge open work permit. Should I send AOR for PGWP extension application also for converting into bridge open work permit and thus resulting into a faster POWP issue? So I have seen mixed responses from IRCC because you can't convert an already submitted application. Everything is locked on the day you submit an application. So if you have already submitted a bridge open work permit, on that day, in your case, November the 19th, on that date, you are not eligible for a bridge open work permit. So if you are now sending them an AOR of 4th of February, it cannot be applied to the November 19th application. So in most probability, it will get refused. However, having said that, IRCC has been very inconsistent. They have a lot of new staff who are making some ridiculous decisions. this way or that way, and to take advantage of that. If it helps you, why not? So raising a web form and asking them to attach this AOR to the previous one, no harm in doing it. Maybe you will be one of those lucky few who have been able to get their Bridge Open Work Permit, even through the extension application. Why not? Yeah, no harm in doing it, but do submit a new Bridge Open Work Permit, which I think you already have, so that way you are covered. But yeah, no problem with that. I have a 6 years of foreign work experience as a software engineer. 1 year as a web developer in Canada, including 6 weeks from India and 4 months as a BA for a 4-month break. What should my primary knock code be for CEC? For your CEC, you can choose any knock code in which you have work experience in Canada. That becomes your primary knock code. Because this primary knock code concept, people confuse it a lot. It is valuable in a couple of cases. First one, it is valuable if you are targeting a PNP, for example, Ontario. Then your primary knock code matters, because Ontario chooses under the human capital priorities, they will choose the profile based on the knock code. Alberta will choose the knock code based on the, will choose the profile based on the knock code, when they're inviting from the express entry. Nova Scotia will choose based on the primary knock code that you have put in there. But as a Canadian experience class, it doesn't matter. This knock code is important largely for the federal skilled worker program, for people who are federal skilled workers, because that is the basis of their eligibility points, right? They get the 67 factor points. So that is the basis of their eligibility. For Canadian experience class, it doesn't matter. Any period of work experience that you have under tier 0, 1, 2, 3, even if it was for 1 month, you can use that as your primary knock code. And if you're targeting a category draw, then also don't worry, it doesn't have to be your primary knock code. That category experience could be part of your work experience. If you have 6 months within the last 3 years, you will still get invited. So that's the explanation of primary knock code. I got a JAL from adjuster position and I've applied for SINP. Will take maternity leave after nomination affect my PR application processing? Okay, congratulations. JAL stands for Job Approval Letter, which is a job offer from Saskatchewan Immigration Program. And if you take a maternity leave after nomination, it will not affect your PR application processing as long as you're still employed with the same employer. That should be the condition. Wife got a 10-year visit visa in December in SOP, statement of purpose. We said she will visit me for 2 weeks after our first wedding anniversary. Now we want to book her tickets for 5.5 months. Is it fine? Any suggestion? Sneaky. Well, no, there is no problem. At the end of the day, if you're coming to Canada, so this is how it is, right? When you are entering Canada, you are entering Canada as a visitor. At the port of entry, a border officer will still want to know what your intention is and if you are a genuine bona fide visitor. Now, you tell the officer you are going to be in Canada for 5 months. The officer is going to wonder what exactly is your intention. Why are you wanting to live in Canada for 5 months? Now, yes, the law allows you to reside in Canada for up to 6 months on a visit, each visit. Yes, that is the allowance. But for a border officer, their responsibility is to establish that you are entering Canada for the purpose that you have stated. Means you're visiting. If you're visiting 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 1 month, 1.5 months, you're coming to see your husband, maybe 2 months. But why are you living here for 5 months? Are you using this period to actually just live in Canada, reside in Canada, and not visit? So please be careful with those questions. And as long as you have good answers for that, and you're able to establish that you are still a genuine bona fide visitor, then by all means, go ahead. I have 517 score and my fake extension got refused. Fake extensions tell you they have to be refused. And if in the upcoming draws, if I get an ITA, am I eligible to apply for Bridge Open Work Permit and start working? No. So you see, you are now in a 90 days restoration period because your application has been refused on 31st of January. Now from this date, you have 90 days of restoration period. Within this 90 days, if you get an ITA, if you submit your PR application and you get your AOR, you will now be eligible to apply for a Bridge Open Work Permit. However, by applying for a Bridge Open Work Permit, you do not get an implied or a maintained status which authorizes you to work. Now, whenever you get maintained status, whenever you get implied status, you basically get 2 authorizations if your current status is valid. You get authorization to stay in Canada and you get authorization to work. But in your restoration period, in this situation, You do not get any status at all. There is no authorizations at all. You're in a restoration. You don't have status, so you can't have a maintained status. Therefore, you cannot work until and unless your status is restored and you are approved for a bridge open work permit. So please bear that in mind. As of right now, you have no status. You will continue to not have status until your bridge open work permit is issued and approved, and only then can you start working. Current PR timeline after ITA, on an average, it's about 6 months. Got laid off from job, from OINP, no job offer required. PR application in progress, does this affect my nomination? Well, no, it doesn't. If you are in the Ontario's master stream, where there is no requirement for a job offer, your employment status will have no impact and it will not create any issue, and you don't need to inform Ontario or IRCC in this situation. Eligible for CEC because I have 1 year of Canadian experience. Can I use my internships from India to claim CRS points for foreign experience? Yes, you can. Internships outside Canada completed during your period of study, that work experience is valid, no problem. As long as it is paid and under tier category 0, 1, 2, 3, you can certainly claim it. Are category draws on hold until Parliament sits? Absolutely not. Parliament has got nothing to do with the category draws. Category draws will restart as and when they have been scheduled by IRCC. I work at a Crown agency. I've applied for nomination with a JAL. Can I switch to a higher paying position within the organization after nomination? Tricky, especially in situations where you have a JAL. JAL is for a specific position. It has been approved for a specific position. If there is a change in your employment, you must inform the province, and then they have to take a call whether they will accept the same JAL or they might ask you to get a new JAL. A new JAL can take you 4 or 5 months in any situation. So in situations where you have a nomination or a PR application that is employment driven, that is fixed to an employment, then the suggestion usually is to hold that. I know you might be wanting to get a higher position, but the suggestion is always to not deviate from your position under which you have received. You can always call Saskatchewan. They're quite responsive and giving you answers. 543 with LMIA approved. I'm on a visitor record. Need to apply for closed work permit from inside Canada. Don't want to travel back. How can I apply without LMIA CRS 493? Well, if you have an LMIA, you can be inside Canada and still make an application for processing outside Canada. You will need to choose appropriate forms and choose for processing outside Canada. It's not a problem. There is it 1295 or 1294? I keep skipping. So I think 1294 is for study permit, 1295 is for a work permit, or it's the other way around. But anyways, when you submit your work permit application, just make sure that the form number is not 5710. 5710 is for work permit applications inside Canada. Your form number should be either 1295 or 1291. Is it a study permit, or keep getting confused with those numbers? I think it's 1295. So just make sure your form number that you're completing for your work permit is 1295. That will be the application package that you must use. You can still show that your country of residence currently is in Canada, but you're applying for the processing from outside Canada. No problem with that. I'm a casual ECE within 1 year. I have taken 4 months vacation. How does it affect the number of hours for CEC? How the hours are calculated? Well, if you have taken 4 months of vacation, then 4 months don't count. If you are Canadian experience class, you can have breaks. There is no problem. You can have different employers. There is no problem. You can have different knock codes. Also no problem. So you just skip that period of 4 months and calculate your work experience before that 4 months and after the 4 months, and combine the two to make sure that you have 1,560 hours completed over a period of 52 weeks and more. And that's how you will calculate CEC. And this has to be within the last 3 years. I got ITA on the 5th of Feb. Do I need upfront medicals to get my AOR? I'm eligible to continue working as soon as I apply for Bridge Open Work Permit with the AOR before my work permit expired. Okay. If you are applying from inside Canada, and if you already have medicals that were completed within the last 5 years, no matter where they were completed, you can use the same medicals. If you don't have medicals which is completed within the last 5 years, or they have exceeded that 5-year period, then simply upload a blank white paper, and IRCC will send you a medical request once they have started processing your applications, and then you can complete your medicals. Once you have your AOR, you can apply for Bridge Open Work Permit. If your current work permit is still valid and you're applying for a Bridge Open Work Permit before its expiry, then you will be on an implied status once your work permit expires, and you can continue working until the decision is made on your Bridge Work Permit. We just did this one. I have heard from not so credible sources that knock code is not eligible for CAC as per recent changes. Can you please clarify if it's eligible for points or not? Well, you have said it yourself, not credible sources. And because they are not credible, that's the reason you have a doubt. Always refer to IRCC website. And whenever you are talking to these not so credible sources, always ask them for a credible, authentic source of that information. So at this point of time, there is no change in express entry or Canadian experience class. All tier categories 0, 1, 2, and 3 are eligible in express entry and in CEC. Your knock code is 62020. The second digit, in this case 2, is the indicator of the tier code. Any knock code, the second digit is the indicator of the tier code. Your knock code is tier code category 2, and it is absolutely eligible, and there is no problem at all. By all means, go ahead and submit your application. BTech was done from a college which is under another college at a different location. I have studied from A, not B. In my application, should I give college in? Okay, whenever you have these kind of confusions, and I honestly am not able to understand the A, B, C, X, Y here, but mention the name of the actual physical college where you attended your program. In the brackets, put the name of the universities that is affiliated for that. And in the location, mention where you were physically present when you were studying. I hope that helps. Filed super visa in India. Can I still visit Canada on my existing valid visitor visa? Will I have to come back to India for visa stamping? Yes. You can file super visa in India, no problem. You can come to Canada on your existing valid visit visa, also no problem. When you get the visa stamping request, you can try sending it to Ottawa. Sometimes it is successful, sometimes it is not. Sometimes they will send it back to you, and in that case, then you will have to go. If you have a US visa, you can then go to the US and submit your passport request, or you can submit your passport for stamping there. Otherwise, you can try with Ottawa. Usually, they can. Sometimes they approve. Sometimes they stamp it. Sometimes they will say, okay, you need to go outside Canada. I'm in Manitoba, open work permit and spouse on. Guys, please don't do any more super chats. I will not be able to complete, and then you would be, really, really upset with this one. So please don't do any more super chats. Let me just put that here. Yeah. I'm in Manitoba. I'm going to go very fast now, right? Because we got to finish all these questions before I have to scoot off. So I'm going to go very fast. Please bear with me. And if it is too fast for you, then on the YouTube, choose the less speed option, reduce the speed option, and then it will become better. So I'm in Manitoba, open work permit and spouse on closed work permit in Ontario. My current score is 762 after shows spouse and skilled worker Manitoba PNP. So what are the chances to get invited? Again, I already said specific scores, specific invitations, I really can't tell you. It will all depend on the draws as and when they happen. So please keep a lookout for the past trends, past draws, past scores, and that would be giving you a good idea as to what to expect or not. Have 11 months of foreign work experience. On postgraduate work permit, I have 1.5 years, but in between I work for 1 month from India remotely. Can I combine that to make 1 year foreign experience, same knock, and get points under CEC draw? Well, technically, yes, you can. If you worked remotely for 1 month, the whole treatment of this will become very complex in your application, because for that 1 month, you will have to show that you were not in Canada in order for the system to generate those points for you. And it becomes complex in presentation. Better would be for you to leave Canada, go on a leave, go on a holiday, complete 1 year of work experience outside Canada, then come back. That would be a better treatment. But technically asking that, yes, can you claim that 1 month from remote, then technically yes. It's just the presentation of this is going to be really complex. I have 1.5 years of healthcare occupation experience and a CRS of 411. If I gain 6 months of skilled trade experience, would I qualify for Ontario skilled trades, or is full 1 year required? If you want to be eligible in the OINP skilled trade, then you must have 1 year of work experience in eligible occupations under skilled trade under the Ontario draw within the last 2 years. So that is the requirement, and that's what you need to do. I have less than 30 hours per week for 4 months. Can I count that as part-time and combine that with full-time work experience to claim 1560 hours? Should I include an explanation letter? You can include an explanation letter. The hours less than 30 will be calculated as actual. So for example, if you work for 20 hours per week, it's calculated as 20. And in weeks that you have worked for more than 30 hours, those are calculated as 30. So 1 week you work 20 hours per week, and a few weeks later you have worked for 40 hours a week. Then you calculate 20 hours for this week, 30 hours for that week, okay? And that is how you will calculate and establish 1,560 hours over a period of at least 52 weeks or more. US citizen kid is in Canada on a visit visa over 6 months, extension applied and in process, PR applied, address confirmation sent to IRCC, waiting for ACO PR. Can I take her to India and can she come back on a visitor visa? Yes, she can. Your child is a US citizen. If the child goes to India, returns back to Canada, the child will be returning back as a visitor on a US visa until the COPR has been issued. There is no problem with that. Working for RBC with third-party job title is banking, planning to use NOC or finance. Employer said it is CSR, tier 4, job description is CSR, DOT is mixed, 517 advice. I don't know what advice you're asking me. Too much of mixture here, but you will have to choose the NOC code based on your job description, not the title. And as long as the job description is clear and is matching with any tier category 0, 1, 2, 3, you're good to go. If it matches the tier category 4, then it's a problem. Then you will have to ensure that your job code that you're choosing is correct, tier category 0, 1, 2, 3, or you will have to go back to your employer and request them to give you a letter which will establish matching tier category job description. Started job, continued on postgraduate work permit, promoted, same NOC, new title, experience letter with original SP date. Guys, it's so difficult to understand what you write, right? EE portal work history, should I skip SP period and enter 2 roles separately with... Okay, so in your work history, please enter your work experience starting from the date you applied for postgraduate work permit to keep it clear. And after you have received your ITA, in your personal history, you can mention the additional period of work experience while you were studying so that it keeps it clean and clear and there is no problem with it. I hope that's what you were asking me. PR application is based on NOC 00 LMIA. Refused, reason small size of a company, no ban on me. My consultant filed a JR as part of our agreement, which is in process. Question, will it impact my future applications? No, it will not impact your future applications. Yeah, it's tricky. I am not sure if your GR will go through or not because there is a federal court precedence in this where the judge had ruled in the favor of IRCC, where IRCC said that the company should have at least 50 employees in order to get a 00 LMIA. So I wish you good luck. I hope this gets approved for you. But no, it will not have impact on your future applications. In a previous job, your hours fluctuated 25 hours 1 week and 35 the next. For CEC PR eligibility, will a 25-hour week count towards my work experience? How can I ensure these hours are calculated? How included? Yes, it will count. It will count 25 hours per week. Okay. And then you may have to work for extra period of weeks or months in order to compensate for this extra for the shortfall of 5 hours per week, or you will have to work for extra months or weeks in order to compensate. But yes, the system will automatically calculate it for you, but you can also do manual calculation. For every time you have worked 25 hours per week, you will calculate it as 25. Wherever you have worked for 35 hours per week, you'll calculate it as 30. So 30 and 35 is now 55 hours bi-weekly, means you're 5 hours short, means you will need to continue working for extra weeks or months to compensate for that 5 hours every bi-weekly. Okay, I hope that helps. Thanks for advising me to apply for study permit as an outside Canada. I got my approval in 3 days. Inside flag polling is not allowed. Now, when can I get study permit? Have US visa, April 10 study started. Well, you can go to the US, spend considerable amount of time because I do not know what your status in Canada is right now. If your status in Canada is, if you have a valid status, if you go to US and come back, it would be considered as flag polling. And you cannot go to the US, come back the same day and expect it not to be flag polling. Couple of things that you can do. You can go to Mexico, come back to the, fly back to Canada and then apply for port of entry letter, use your port of entry letter to get your study permit. You can leave to any other country other than US. Whenever you go to the US, it becomes very complex and complicated, and the border officers may or may not issue your study permit on their discretion. Otherwise, you can always raise a web form, let IRCC know you are inside Canada, and ask them to issue your study permit and send it to you. That is one way of doing it. And other, as I said, travel to a different country and come back to Canada and use that as apply for a study permit at the port of entry. When I was on study permit in 2018, I did DoorDash. Since it was such a short period of time, I completely forgot to mention. Is it misrep? I'm already on PR. Can my PR be revoked? No, it is not misrepresentation. Please don't worry. I know we have been talking a lot about misrepresentation. Now, for misrepresentation to really impact your application negatively, it has to be material misrepresentation. Now, material misrepresentation means that had you disclosed that information, it would have changed the decision. It would have influenced the officer to make a different decision. That is material misrepresentation. You not showing 2 to 3 hours of DoorDash is not material misrepresentation. It would have not impacted your application negatively, positively, or in a different direction. Therefore, you should not be worried about it. Please do not fall into the trap of these TikTok videos, Reels, etc., and even my videos for that matter. They are not meant for you. You're already a permanent resident. You're fine. Not having disclosed 2-3 hours of DoorDash will not make any difference. I wish you well. Had my PCC done 1 year back, never traveled out of Canada. PCC already used for non-express entry PR application. Can I reuse it for EEITA given all this? Yes, absolutely you can. As I explained, if you obtained that PCC outside that country, never went back there, that remains valid. Add a cover letter and then submit the application. Guys, please don't do super chat. I will not be able to finish. I've been telling you this for a very long time. And with all these extra super chats, they will not get answered. I do not have that kind of time today. Can I combine my 1.5 years of EE healthcare occupations with Ontario trade experience to get 25 EE points after completing 2 years of combined NOC-B employment? 25 EE points after completing. You don't get 25 EE points for 2 years of work experience. You get 40 points for the first year and then 13 points for the next year. So I'm not sure what this 25 points you are referring to. And if you're calculating work experience inside Canada for Canadian experience for express entry CRS, then you can combine different NOC codes, different employments, different periods. That's not a problem. Recently went to India on vacation, got my PCC issued on Jan 20th. When I was there on vacation and I left India on Jan 28th. Is it valid? No, it is not valid. It doesn't cover your period of stay from 20th Jan to 28th Jan. This is a disaster waiting to happen. So please apply for a new one while you're outside Canada, outside India. 517 an extension got rejected. Once if I apply for restoration status, are we allowed to go to India and come back to Canada after 4 months? Will they approve visit visa from outside Canada? They may or may not issue visit visa from outside Canada. You can leave Canada. To return back, you must have a visit visa. And this 4 months, 3 months doesn't matter. The minute you leave Canada, you no longer have an implied status. You don't have to be worried about the restoration period because you've already exited Canada. So therefore, your status no longer matters. In order to return back to Canada, you will need a valid TRV if you wish to come back. What to do if I have missed to add my married siblings in my study application? This mistake was unintentional and I want to correct this in my PR application. Can officers still raise a PFL for this? Yes, they can, specifically if you are claiming points for it. But all you can do is include them and let them know that this was an honest mistake and explain why you did not show them earlier. ITA on Feb 5 for 2 years CEC experience points. I was on paid vacation to India for 2 months during first year. How many days my paid vacation be considered for 2-year experience? Can I accept ITA and submit by 60 days also? There are so many things over here. Normally, IRCC considers 2 weeks per year as paid vacation. Anything more than that becomes their discretion. So in order to cover that, I would always recommend you working extra months, weeks, in order to compensate for any extra hour, extra period of time that you may have taken a vacation for. As I said, it is IRCC's discretion. 2 weeks, definitely they don't have a problem. Anything more than that, it becomes their discretion. So you will have to be guided accordingly. Can CEC CRS score reduce to 506 in the coming months according to you? Yes, it can. I'm very positive with scores of 500 plus, especially once the LMIA points are removed. I do expect the scores to drastically start dropping. With 2 things. One, a lot of people who were claiming points for job offers would no longer be able to claim that, number 1. Number 2, hopefully IRCC will continue the constant and the consistent draws, and that would also contribute to quick reduction in this course. 1 year skill trade experience, Canada plus bachelor from India, masters from can I add master's education and express entry to unclaimed points? And do I need LOE in EE? Unclaimed points? Yes, you can do that. Okay, now I understand. You don't want to claim points for your Canadian masters. Yes, you can remove it from your education history. And once you are doing your personal history after you have received your ITA, you can mention it over there. No problem. No issues with this. You can absolutely do it. I see ghost update in tracker. My wife's PR visa is stamped outside Canada. I'm waiting for my ECO PR. Portal 2 was November 29. Can I call her to come to Canada before receiving my... Don't do that. Excuse me. Your spouse can only enter Canada once your PR has been approved. So please don't make that mistake. Don't ask your wife to come to Canada before your ECO PR has been issued. Her PR can only be activated once you have become a PR. So even if she comes to Canada, the officer cannot activate her PR status because you are not a permanent resident yet. And yes, and they might have to then ask her to return back. I'm on a closed ICT work permit and declared my spouse as non-accompanying to boost my score. Is this misrepresentation if I get PR when my spouse's permit be cancelled? No, this is not misrepresentation. Stay away from those people who are telling you this is misrepresentation. There is a reason why you have the option to have your spouse accompanying or not accompanying. If this was misrepresentation, then you wouldn't have that. Being married and saying you are single, that is misrepresentation. Being married and your spouse not accompanying you in your PR application, not physically. People misunderstand that. Your spouse is not accompanying you in your application. We are not talking physical accompanying, okay? And no, her work permit does not get cancelled. Her work permit will continue to be valid until its expiry date. That's how it is. 2 knock codes under Ontario Tech, another not, will get invite, or it should be primary. In order to get invited under the OINP human capital priority stream, your knock code should be the primary knock code, which is going to be invited by Ontario, and you should have at least 1 year of work experience within the last 5 years if federal skilled worker, 1 year and 3 years if you're Canadian experience class. Super visa received request letter for government work details. Should I just fill the table and submit also attached documents? No, just fill up those. Table. If there are any additional documents that you can attach to substantiate your work or your employment within the military or the police or the government, then do so. If there is any explanation which you can provide and add, then also provide that. It will always help your application move quicker and faster. Oh boy. I cannot complete these questions. I have only 1 minute to go. Okay. Getting job as a dental assistant in Sudbury and Thunder Bay, which will be better? Dentist, 3+ years experience back home, 1560 students are count as experience. I can't tell you. This is a decision you would have to make. Why don't you go with Thunder Bay itself and have them cover you for RCIP as well as Ready? And that way you can claim points in Ontario as well as do it for the RCIP as well. You are in healthcare, and being in healthcare, it gives you a distinct advantage. You should get invited through the RCIP as well as through the Ready as well. Now, one of the reasons why you would choose RCIP is because the RCIP processing times are faster, and that might help you. And because they're faster, they can help you, but the Ready timelines will be much longer because first you need to get the Ontario nomination, which as of today is taking about 7, 8, 10 months. After getting the nomination, you file for PR, which will take you another 2 years. So RCIP, on the other hand, you get the endorsement, you file your PR, it's done in less than 9, 10 months. So yeah, that could be the way to go about it. 502 with spouse, 481, spouse on open work permit. What's approval rate EE without spouse, and what reason can be provided? I can't tell you what reason your spouse is not accompanying you. That is not for me to tell you. That is for you to establish, because if IRCC asks you for additional explanation and documentation, you should be able to provide. So I can't give you the reason. That is something which you have to give. It is not misrepresentation. Your spouse can continue to be in Canada. No problem with it. You can have a spouse who's not accompanying you. No problem. It is not misrepresentation. But you have to give substantial understanding of why is it that your spouse is not accompanying you. Can I split my work history after ITA and submit same docs for both? Same job got gained last 3 months of experience while studying online from home. Experience still remains more than 3 years. Can I split my work experience? Yes, you can split. There is no problem in splitting. Always add explanation as to why you're doing what you're doing with regards to changes post ITA in your application. Nothing here for Shivani. Can we add 5 years of self-employed foreign work experience from India in EE? We didn't mention it in study permit form, but included in SOP and taxes were filed. Well, if it was included in any part of your application earlier, then you may include it. It will create a problem for sure if you did not include it in your study permit forms, because why didn't you include it there? But the fact is that it was included in your SOP, so it was part of your application. So this is a calculated risk, which basically means that you can still include it. And if you are asked, then you should be able to explain that you did include it in the SOP, but you forgot to mention it in the forms. Nothing for Harsh here. Okay, now we are already running over time and I still can't complete these questions. Oh boy. What do we do? Okay. In my EEPR application, security started in September 26 with no updates. Calling them, they said all is done except security. Should I worry or wait? No, I don't think you need to worry about it at all. These take time sometimes. 20% of the applications do take longer. If you are so worried, order the GCMS notes so you can understand what is the hitch. But by all means, nothing to worry. If your GCMS notes are clear, then you should be pretty much fine. It could be because of security processing, and that could sometimes take longer. CEC score is 490, having 2 years of working experience in Canada. PGWP is expiring. Are there any chances scores will drop? Yes, scores will drop. I'm not very optimistic with low 490. Only time will tell. I don't want to speculate at this point of time whether 490 is going to happen or not. About 500s, I feel positive about them. Anything less than that, we'll have to wait and see after the points for LMIAs have been removed to see how much the pool has thinned out. Will I be eligible to apply for CEC in 39 weeks if I work 40 hours per week? No, you will not be. You can only calculate 30 hours per week. Anything more than 30 hours cannot be calculated. You have to complete 15, 60 hours, 30 hours per week over a period of 52 weeks, one year. So that's how it is. My spouse and I are inside Canada, valid till May 26. I've extended once. 4 years will be exhausted of 5 till May. So can me and my spouse extend for 1 year considering the new 16-month rule? You certainly can extend if you're on a closed work permit. I think you're on an ICT. If your tier category is 0 and 1, your spouse can also extend on your work permit basis. Otherwise, your tier code or your knock code, if it is tier 2, has to be under one of the eligible knock codes. Only then your spouse can extend based on yours, but you certainly can extend for 1 more year. Oh, no, you can't, right? Sorry, 16 months rule. No, you can't. Unfortunately, you will not be able to get your spouse open work permit because your work permit will not be valid for 16 months or more. You can still try. There is no harm in doing it. Sometimes, as I said, IRCC is very inconsistent. You might just get through with it. But technicality, as per the laws, with 16-month rule, your spouse will not be able to get an open work permit. Came after 12th, did 2-year diploma in tech. CRS is 434. After 1 year, PGWP, what is my best option for PR? Applied for OINP international student stream already, learn French. What else can I do? Well, look for job offers. During the PNPs, that is the only best way to go with this. With your scores that low, unfortunately, there is nothing much you can do with that score. Yeah, French or job offers for PNP, that is the only way to go. Wife studied in India and later visited for 1 week. PCC only mentions 2014 to 2019. Will the 1 week visit cause any issues? Yes, it will. You need a new PCC to cover the entire duration of your stay in that country. I showed experience in Express Entry profile June 2018 to March 21. Now July 2019 to March 21. One experience submitted for 1 month, but got experience letter for 3 weeks. One experience submitted for 1 month, August to August, but experience letter for 3 weeks. I don't understand your question. I showed experience June 18 to March 21. Now July. Oh, you changed from June to July. 2021, 2018. No, I'm not able to understand your question. I'm sorry about this one. I'm not sure where the confusion is. First, you said 2018 to 2021, and then you are saying July 2019 to March 21. Yeah, I'm not able to understand what exactly went wrong here. Sorry about that. If I book a consultation, will Kubeir join or someone else from your team? Well, it depends. If you book a consultation with me, then I will be the one who will be joining the call. If you book a consultation with someone else from our team, then they will be the ones who will join the call. Applied visitor visa for my spouse and children for convocation is submitted, filed properly with all documents. Should I apply for reconsideration? Huh? Applied visitor visa. Should I apply for reconsideration? I don't know what you mean. If you've already submitted, why would you apply for reconsideration? Let the decision come first, right? And if it has been refused, order the GCMS notes to understand what exactly went wrong in your application. And no, there are no future impacts. Of course, I mean, every time you reapply, they will go back and check your previous applications. But yeah, that's about it. OINP web designer says that it requires a uni degree. Can a Canadian diploma qualify? Also, when is tech draw expected? If you're talking about the OINP human capital priority stream, then having a bachelor's degree is a mandatory requirement. Diploma will not work for that. So please bear that in mind. As far as when the draws will happen, I don't know. They haven't issued any advisory as to when the draws will be conducted. I took paid vacation for 4 weeks continuously outside Canada. Would that affect CEC 1-year eligibility? Up to 2 weeks is considered as paid vacation. If you've taken 4 weeks, then I would recommend working for 2 extra weeks to compensate for that extra period of vacation. I have 1.5 years of work experience left. I have 1 year of customer service representative experience. Should I move to another province? Well, if you have an option in any other province and you are getting an employer who can support your application for PNP, by all means do. Can you elaborate a little bit about RCIP? RCIP stands for Rural Community Immigration Program. There are 14 to 18 communities. You need to apply to the community to get the endorsement. Once you get the endorsement, you can apply for PR. You can check IRCC website for more criteria and details, and the individual community websites for their criteria and details. OINP employer job offer app is an assessment stage. Can I change a job with the same knock and wage after updating with OINP? Can my application be processed or not? It would be on the discretion of Ontario. They have to be satisfied that if you are changing this job, the new employer is also eligible and the new employer will have to give you the employer form. That's how you would go about doing it. Nothing here, nothing here. Poof, done. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for joining in. It was nice catching up again, doing this. We will, of course, do this again next time. Until such time, stay tuned with all these updates and stay forever hopeful.